Welcome back to another Pragmatic Place, guys. Good to see
Hello.
you.
How's everyone doing? Good, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully you're doing good.
So,
This is going to be another episode about our game experiences.
and what we played while growing up, I guess? Well, I mean, it's pretty much past the growing up
We've
part.
already gone through most of our younger years. Now it's like
So, I
the
mean,
last
okay.
5 or 6 years.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying 5 or 6 years. Let's go with. But we haven't talked about what we did during, like, the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360. I don't even think I talked about my PS2 experiences. I haven't even talked about my PlayStation experiences, I should say, in general.
When it comes to like PlayStation, I had a PlayStation 1, obviously. I used to play Beyblade, and there was a game like Diablo I used to play. I don't remember what it was now. But it was essentially Diablo for PlayStation.
There were a couple games that were kind of like Diablo for PlayStation. I remember there was the Dark Alliance series that I remember. I remember you mentioning that you played Dark Alliance on
I
GameCube.
played that on GameCube.
See, I played it on
Along with Wind
PlayStation
Waker
2
and
with all my friends back then.
Animal Crossing was a big game in my family. We used to fight over who got to play it.
I never owned Animal Crossing. I had a neighbor that played that game excessively.
Interesting enough about Animal Crossing, did you know the game was actually made for the Nintendo 64?
I actually do kind of recall that information.
And it was only about a 16 megabyte game. You could take the disc out and the game was to run on a GameCube.
Interesting. I did not know that.
Did I? Funny enough, we played the game so much we had a GameCube glitch to where it would only play that game, would not read discs.
Oh wow. Yeah, no,
Yeah, it would only play Animal Crossing. You didn't even need the disc in. It would just boot up to Animal Crossing.
So, I had a neighbor that played Animal Crossing so much to the point to where she had 4 different memory cards, all
We had 8.
all with full villages,
Mm-hmm.
and she was the only one to play it. Like it was.
We had a family of 5 or 6 people playing.
Yeah, see, if there wasn't 5 or 6 people playing this, this was like all her. And then on top of it, she also had 3 SPs open around her as well when she'd be playing Pokemon on those.
SPs? Game Boy Advance SPs?
Yeah.
Damn. So she's worse than you when it comes to multitasking.
Oh
video
dear
games.
God, yes. I probably learned it from her because I started hanging out with. So I was friends with her son, and he and I would go over to his house. I think he's the one I started playing some like the wrestling games with, and that's where I was introduced to like the WWE wrestling games and everything that existed for like GameCube or Nintendo 64, I should say. But she had what was really fun about going over to their house is she had one of the NES systems, and she had 2 gigantic drawers full of games for it. And she actually took enjoyment in watching me play these games because I would come over to hang out with them, and then I would want to play some of the classic games, so they'd put them in there for me to start playing, and I would just start beating them one after the other. So she would always find enjoyment in me coming over to their house and just start beating all of her games that she's collected over the years.
She enjoyed seeing him play it, I bet.
So that was an interesting experience I got to go through. However, let's moving away from that era, I guess.
Well, I want to mention one thing real quick.
Yeah.
There was a GameCube game that was like, it went under the fucking radar. It was called Sphinx. It was about you playing as a guy who was would help gods help these people to their resting places in the Egyptian world. And you had to go around and collect stuff. I don't remember. It was a GameCube game, and eventually you had to play as Tutankhamun, the pharaoh. Yeah. It was an amazing game, and nobody ever talks about it.
I remember seeing that game on shelves and such, and I think my friend owned it, but I never played that game specifically.
It's good.
Funny enough, though, I'm kind of thinking about the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 era right now. Yeah. Because I have a bunch of experiences. I think that's when I started getting heavily into video games.
I never really played during this era, so I'm going to let you take over from you.
So, I had a PS3 first. because I was more of a Sony fan than I was Xbox. And on the PS3, I kind of had this rotation going where my mom would take me to Blockbuster, and Blockbuster had this deal thing, rule, I don't know what they wanted to call it, where if you were able to return something within 24 hours, you could just exchange it for something else. So during the weekends, my mom would take me to Blockbuster. We would rent out 2 games. We'd show up like almost right when they were opening. We'd rent out 2 games. I would then come home and proceed to beat both of those games within a 24-hour period. I remember specifically beating Infamous and Prototype, because both those games were like released around the exact same time. And I remember beating both of those, going back to Blockbuster and exchanging them for 2 other games in the same day. And then moving on. And I did that like weekly. Every week it'd be 2 new games. Or I'd be getting through 4 games every week during the PlayStation era. Going through Blockbuster's like exchange program thing they had going on. Exchange program. Then the 360. That was primarily my... I went in and I traded my PS3 so I can get a 360. With the 360, I got it so I could play games with my friends, because every one of my friends had a 360 and not a PlayStation 3. So, I got that to play Halo with everyone, or Call of Duty, one or the other. Both of them, probably. I had probably some of the funniest experiences playing Halo, because it's probably still to this day, it's a bunch of children who hop on to play the game and try to talk shit to each other. And some of it's funny, some people are very bad at it, and they don't know how to just do comedy insults. They could just go straight for the I'm gonna kill you, your family sucks, go fuck yourself, like type of insults. And it's like, okay, whatever. Well, one person decided to start coming on and making a whole bunch of gay slurs, gay jokes, you take it up the ass, you all fucking faggot type of stuff. Me, gay, sitting here listening to this, I decided to go into serious mode into the game now. We were playing Halo Reach, and it was specifically the game mode where I think it's like 50 kills, you get the battle rifle and a pistol, and you can only kill enemies with a headshot. I had about 30 some odd kills for my team. And over 20 of them were specifically this guy, this kid. I was targeting him. I was specifically like waiting and aiming, and if I saw 2 people, I'd make sure I was aiming for him, because you can change how your armor looked, color and everything. So he would always look different compared to everyone else. So I just singled him out. I killed him a whole bunch. And then at the end of the match, I decided to put on my headset and be like, yeah, so just letting you know, the person who killed you does take it up the butt. And I hope you have a good day with that. And left at the end of the match. And that was probably one of my most satisfying Halo games ever. Of course, I did kind of stop playing Halo after that. Haven't really hopped back in. I think I've explained I still am a competitive player, but I don't like competitive games all that much. I like cooperative based. I like to work together with my friends to achieve something than to put them down. All right. Do you want to talk about your... You say you didn't play any games during the PlayStation 3 Xbox
I played
360?
a bit. Basically, when the PS3 first came out, I actually went and bought one. I also bought, I think it was Darkness 2 was the game I bought with it.
I remember that game.
I returned the entire system and the game within a few days and bought myself an iPod Touch.
I don't want a console.
When it comes to 360, Well, this is when iPod Touches just came out.
Oh.
So it probably wasn't right when PS3 released, but it was close to it. So after that, I didn't play 360 until after I dropped out of high school. First game I ever played was Oblivion. That game is surprisingly easy when the person who owns it tells you where to get some of the best armor you can get at the very start of the game.
Hey, if you want to have an easy time, well, okay, I'm gonna do something like that for you when it comes to Dark Souls. I can tell you where there's a really good item near the beginning of the game that will easily help you through over half of the game.
There's a difference between helping me and one-shotting everything I go up against.
I mean, it's gonna be close to it.
That's a lot harder of a game than Oblivion, period.
True. That Xbox 360 is actually when I was introduced to Dark Souls. And funny enough, I hated the game when it first came out. But I also did the world's dumbest thing in that game, without even knowing. I walk into the game and I go, oh, this game's hard? Things are gonna kill me fast? Well then let's put my shit into resistance. As a quick heads up.
Bad idea.
In Dark Souls, when you increase your resistance, it makes the bar for you to get poisoned or for the bleed effect or the curse effect, it makes it longer. So it makes it take longer for you to get infected or anything. But there's a catch-22. The longer the bar, if it gets maxed out, which is really easy to have happen, it also takes longer for it to go away. So it's a double-edged sword.
Oh. You done fucked up.
Well, at least with the poison. Like, with bleed effect, it just takes longer, because when they max out the bleed effect, you just take, like, 33% of your HP. But poison and toxic, fucked you. Curse, it didn't matter, because if you got cursed, it instantly killed you, and then when you respawn, you would respawn with half of your HP until you removed the curse. But of course, as I said, when Dark Souls first came out, I hated the game. I didn't understand it. I couldn't play it. I was trying to play with my friends, but I wasn't getting it. And after buying the game, I gave it to a friend because I just wasn't having fun with it. And then I bought the game again later, started playing it a bunch, started enjoying it a lot. Started learning how to play, learning the levels, learning where enemies were, kind of learning how the timed blocking and attacking mechanics were for it. And the game became, not really going to say easier. It's still one of those games where you'll beat your head against the wall to try to get through stuff. But it's one of those games where death has a consequence if you let it really... If you give it a consequence. If you take everything in strides and don't really care about what you would lose if you die, you don't lose much. You just lose a little bit of progression. And that progression can easily be gained back. Trial and error. Simple put. Dark Souls is a trial and error game. You try, you die, you try again.
I had a thought and I've already forgot what I was going to say.
It'll come back to you sometime. But Dark Souls, I think, would be the last game I played on 360 moving into the new era of gaming, which at that point for me was moving into more of a PC gaming. After the 360 is when I finally picked up PC gaming. And one of the first few games I bought for PC was also Dark Souls.
For the audience, I've never played a single Dark Souls game. Well, I've played them. I've never gotten past the first boss on any of them.
Oh, that's gonna change. You're gonna go through them eventually.
Help.
If anything, I'll just drag your corpse through the game. Alright, well, we've almost finished our gaming experience conversation. We're literally entering the last little bit of it with the PlayStation 4.
So do you want to just finish off, or do you want to go to the next episode?
Let's leave them hanging for the next episode.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll talk to all you later. You have a good day.
See you guys later.